Watch this video if you have ever felt bad for saying no. If you know that you struggle with people pleasing, you'll want to keep watching. I'm going to be sharing with you the top 3 mistakes that people make, especially moms, when they are trying to break free of people pleasing. And then at the end of the video, I'm going to give you guys my top 3 tips on how to overcome those mistakes. Okay, so stay tuned. I am Coach Kofia. I am an emotional intelligence certified coach, and I help women heal and thrive emotionally after any type of breakup or divorce. Now, if you've struggled with people pleasing and you're watching this video, you can totally relate to all the emotions that you feel when you have to say no to someone else. And what I've learned and what I've experienced with myself and my clients is that there is a method of communication that happens between you and you that helps you become so much more confident in your ability to handle your emotions and be okay with how everybody else deals with their stuff, right? Because if we make a definition of people pleasing is saying yes to someone else when to avoid some type of discomfort, right? And so I'm going to share with you those 3 things. So I wrote them down. The first one is, I'm going no particular order, but the first one is you are ignoring your own needs. You're ignoring your own needs. And this can happen with moms. We are notorious for being known and bragging about putting the needs of other people before ourselves, right? People wear a badge of honor. I put my children before me. I say yes to the things that they need, regardless of what I need. And at some point in time, we understood how that does not help us with our mental health. And we get to a place where we're feeling resentment, we are burnt out, we are exhausted, and it's like, how in the world did I get to this space where I feel like I cannot go on? So that is number 1 mistake. The number 2 mistake is we overcommit. Raise your hand if you overcommitted. Like, I was just talking to a lady yesterday at the pool, and she was telling me about how much she had to do, and she said yes to all the things, and it was like she regrets it now. Well, how many of us have been in that same situation where we get to the day of and then we realize how much we've said yes to? We got to take Johnny to soccer. We got to take Susie to dance. We got to take something back to Home Depot. We signed up to be the mentor on a call. Like, all of these different things. We got to volunteer to lead the bake sale. Like, we said yes to all of the things in the moment. And why did we do that? We did that because of the discomfort it would take for us to feel and experience by telling somebody else no. And by really understanding when I tell somebody else no, it's really I'm saying yes to me. And so that's what I'm going to share with y'all a little bit later on after I give you this last tip. But I really want you to understand these top 3 mistakes and understand that you have the power to control and manage your day. Yes, you, mom. You have the power to control and manage your day. You're the person in charge of the things that you're responsible for. You get to determine what that flow looks like. And sometimes we get in this place as moms and we feel like I have to do all of these things. And when it comes down to it, we get to. And so we can say the things that we don't want to do. And we can find other ways to get things done or have them not be done and be okay with it. Okay. The last thing, it kind of ties into overcommitting, is the third thing is we avoid conflict. We want to avoid the discomfort of our own emotions, but sometimes we want to avoid those questions that come from when we say no, right? Well, why? We sometimes feel like we have to give people an answer, when ultimately we don't owe anybody anything. And that is the benefit of getting to a place where you're whole, healed, and you're healthy as the way you operate in your emotions, the way you operate in your relationships. you understand your role and your responsibilities, and you understand what people are entitled to and what they're not entitled to. And you get to understand like how an explanation can sometimes come from a place of our own unhealed hurts and our own unhealed, wounds. And when you begin to break those things down, you realize, listen, I'm responsible for all of this. I'm responsible for how I feel, which means I am not responsible for how you feel. And so you have to get to a place where you are operating from the adult versus from the broken child, from the unhealed wounds that child, you as a child, faced. And so now we overcompensate in some of these areas in our life, in our day-to-day. And part of it is, the results of that is people pleasing. We want to please other people because at some point we never were pleased. Nobody considered us. And so we don't want to make other people feel how we felt. When ultimately now at our good ripe age of being an adult at over 18, it is our responsibility to manage our emotions and manage the feelings that we're having while understanding that people are responsible for their own. So I told you guys I was going to give you the top 3 mistakes, and I'm also going to give you the 3 things to really overcome and get you going on a healthy journey to becoming the whole healed version of yourself in your emotions. Now, one big thing about being emotionally intelligent is your communication. And I'm going to preach this until I die. Communication is key. And what most people won't tell you, what most people are not talking about, is the communication that you're having with yourself. This is the theme. If you look at the 3 mistakes, the communication is the theme. And so once you get to a place where you understand how important communication is, you will understand how important your emotional intelligence is. You will literally be unstoppable, because that is surely the foundation of your entire life, your success. It comes from your communication. How you talk to yourself, how you talk to other people, how you internalize or hear what other people are saying. That's all a part of your communication. And so I want to give you 3 real simple tips for you to improve your communication with yourself in this particular area. When it comes down to people pleasing, it's all within. It's all within. And sometimes we think that external situation is really the thing that we're trying to avoid, when ultimately it's the feeling inside that we're trying to avoid. So the first tip is the 3 C's. The 3 C's is the answer, but the first C is compassion for yourself. You have to give yourself compassion. What does that mean? That means the way that you talk to yourself in the times of crisis, in the times of your mood is not at its highest or its peak. Those are the times that you have to be compassionate with yourself. You have to learn how to give yourself the benefit of the doubt. What does that look like? That means being gentle with you. Not labeling your decisions, not labeling your choices, not labeling what your mistakes. Even deeper into what is an example is that, oh, that was so stupid. You're labeling your decisions, your choices, the result as stupid. Oh man, that was such a dumb mistake. Oh, I'm such an idiot sometimes. Oh man, I'm so ugly. Like, all of these different words are describing yourself. You're putting a label on yourself. And when you label something, it's hard to have compassion for yourself when you're putting a label on who you are and what you are. If you have compassion, you give yourself the benefit of the doubt. Right? So you're able to put a positive spin on whatever the situation or circumstance is. Right? You try to understand where you're coming from. When you're giving compassion to someone else, you're trying to understand where they're coming from. You're trying to understand the reason for their decisions. When you can better understand the reason for their decisions will make sense to you. And so when you get to a place where you can be compassionate with yourself and understand where you're coming from, then you can begin to make the changes necessary to get a different result. But by labeling, calling yourself dumb, calling yourself stupid, oh my goodness, I'm such a introvert, or I'm a person who is a night owl, or I'm a morning person, or all of these things are labels. Until you're able to remove those labels, understand where you're coming from, and begin to adjust how you're thinking about yourself and how you talk to yourself, that is when your behavior will change. That is when your results will change, right? Anytime I'm talking about your thoughts and the way that you think, we understand that your thoughts create a feeling. Your feeling in turn creates an action. Those action gives you the results. And most people want to go straight to, I'm having a conversation when I just want to end people pleasing. So I'm going to just start cutting people off and no longer engage with people, which is like the complete extreme of everything, because you're not designed to do life alone. Instead of just cutting people off and not dealing with other people, thinking that is the problem, the solution to that is starting with your thoughts and what you're thinking, and being able to reframe how you're thinking about the situation. So that gives you a different feeling. So that gives you a different action. That gives you a different result. Okay. Long-winded answer for number one. Number two is you want to have courageous conflict, healthy conflict. And I remember the very moment that I had conflict and I got to the other side of it. I remember actually going through conflict resolution, like in the 3rd grade, like being a part of the conflict resolution team and just like helping people through that stuff. But as an adult, I remember getting on the other side of conflict. And this is coming from a person who was court ordered to do anger management, right? And that's a different story for a different day. But I'm not telling you guys something that's theory. I'm telling you something that I learned from experience and that I've helped other people through. There is a place in conflict that you can get to the other side and there will be so much connection. Most people avoid conflict, and what you're doing is you're avoiding the connection that comes from the other side of that. And you can see this in a lot of different movies, but one movie comes to mind is like, Why Did I Get Married? One of the couples in Why Did I Get Married were the people who fought a lot. They fought a lot. I can't remember their name, but y'all know who I'm talking about. The lady was like, I drank to that lady. So they would have a lot of conflict in their relationship, but they would also have a lot of passionate intercourse, right? And so what happens on the other side of the conflict is if when you resolve it appropriately, there is connection on the other end. Well, their mending of their conflict was completely avoiding the process that needs to happen. They just go into straight connection because it gave them a good feeling. But there is a process that you can go through when you are dealing with conflict through your words and being vulnerable and not labeling your person that you're talking to, that gets you to the other side of that connection, right? So part of becoming breaking free from being a people pleaser as a mom is not avoiding the conflict. And one way that you can not avoid the conflict is you can get to know the things that you really desire and be comfortable saying no, and be comfortable allowing other people to sit in their emotions and giving them space to be able to process their own stuff. Because what happens in people pleasing, when you people please, you're not allowing other people to mature and grow, especially if we're talking about kids. If we're just saying yes to everything that they want to do or everything they ask you for, because you don't want to feel whatever the discomfort is, you're not giving them an opportunity to grow in their ability to manage their own discomfort. And so you're really sabotaging their growth. And that's true. And that's what's happening in a lot of the world, in a lot of the adult relationships. There's so many people pleasers that the people who need to grow in their ability to handle their own discomfort are not even getting an opportunity to, because there's so many people pleasers. So it's just like a cycle that keeps going on and on and on, and nobody's growing in their development and their emotional intelligence. Okay. So the third C in being able to avoid the mistakes that I shared with you guys from this video earlier is you want to cultivate self-worth. And that is because the people pleasing, it gives you a sense of feeling good enough, feeling approved by the other person. Because sometimes we people please because we want people to look at us in a certain light. That gives us a sense of validation. That gives us a sense of affirmation, and we don't realize that those things are the things that we're going after are things that we can give ourselves. And sometimes what happens is when we are in our space where we're learning how to see ourselves in the best light when we're younger, we don't get the affirmation, we don't get the validation, and so that results to us having to do things in order to get it right. And so part of doing things to get the validation and the affirmation that we need to give us those dopamine hits to make us feel good is saying yes to people when we really in fact would like to say no. And so cultivating self-worth within is figuring out what gives you joy, what gives you fulfillment, what are the things that I can do to foster those good feelings for myself, right? Is that prayer? Is that time spent with God? Is that time just enjoying the things that I like to do? Which comes from spending time with yourself and knowing what, figuring out, asking yourself those questions, or hiring a coach to help you process those things so that you can know what you like and know how to fulfill yourself from within. So what is the running theme in this whole 3 C's? It's communication. The compassion for yourself is how you talk to yourself. The courageous conflict is telling yourself not to avoid conflict. The cultivating self-worth is giving yourself the affirmation and validation that you need in order to feel good so that you're not doing something that violates what you really want. Okay, so I hope this video was helpful. I will see you guys in the next video. I hope if this video was enjoyable to you, definitely hit the like, subscribe button, and I will see you guys next week. Talk soon.